Caio, a dual-color prodigy known as the Purple King, in his shadow stands his older brother, our MC Raúl, completely colorless and magically inert. Raúl clings to hope as a porter in his brother's party until they confront a dungeon boss, Kronos, the god of time and space. With a wave of his hand, Kronos effortlessly annihilates the entire party, including Caio cornered and facing certain death. Raúl's desperation unlocks a sealed forbidden power skill drain. In a final defiant act, he steals Kronos' own reality warping ability. Rewind, the surge of power fueled by panic and regret. Doesn't just rewind a moment, but sends Raúl himself through time. He awakens years in the past, armed with the stolen power of a god and a burning resolve. This time, he will master his own destiny. Raúl is utterly shocked, and when he looks through the window, he realizes something more shocking. The inverted castle is still white, which was supposed to be pitch black. Apparently, the inverted castle was pure white until 7 years ago, but it gradually started becoming black. And when it turned completely dark, the door that unleashed Kronos opened. Suddenly, it dawns on him that he actually stole the rewind ability from Kronos to send himself back to the past. He picks up his phone to confirm the exact date, and he realizes that he has gone back 7 years. Curious, Raúl opens his status window to see his skill list, and shockingly, the rewind skill is gone. But the ability, skill drain, still remains. Even though the rewind is gone, Raúl is still happy with what he has left. Because for 10 years, all he wanted was just a single skill. And since he has the skill drain, he feels fulfilled. Just then, the reminder on his phone comes on, reminding him that the very day is the mage exam. Raúl then heads to the Mage Association HQ that oversees the affairs of mages and dungeon conquest. He steps into the seemingly new headquarters, and before he can even get a breath of fresh air, he hears some dude call him colorless from behind. He turns around to see that the dudes are Gustavo and Osvaldo, and they are both his brother's subordinates. They were also the ones who died in Kronos' room. Gustavo and Osvaldo make fun of Raúl for coming to the headquarters to take the mage exam yet again. They tell him that his efforts are basically pointless, because no matter how many times he takes the test, he will always remain colorless. In truth, this is not the first time that Raúl has taken the mage exam, but he kept taking the exam over and over again, because he refused to give up. Not ready to play around with them, he slaps their hands away, telling them to leave him momentarily. He finds himself in the examiner's office, where he meets the examiner. Ines Reina, a B-rank mage. Even Ines Reina is tired of seeing Raúl, and she tells him that he will eventually get himself killed if he continues trying. Raúl assures Ines Reina that this time around would be different from the other times. Ines Reina has no choice but to accompany Raúl to the exam venue, and since he has taken the exam loads of times, he needs no explanation. Apparently, he's to collect 3 mana stones from goblins to pass the exam for those who have awakened the skill. This is usually no difficult task, but Raúl has always been struggling with it. It turns out that a shocking event also happened. That very day, a terrifying monster appeared in the level 1 dungeon, which is not supposed to be there. Just as Raúl was expecting, the said monster showed up in the distance, looking all menacing. The monster turns out to be a red-cap goblin, which is a level 37 monster. Ines Reina is shocked when she sees this, leaving her to question why something so dangerous is present in the dungeon. Ines Reina whips out her sword, telling Raúl to run so she can protect him. However, Raúl knows that the level difference is just overwhelming. Before he regressed, Ines Reina lost against the monster because she was fighting to make sure that Raúl could get to safety. Ines Reina got so beaten up that she was forced to retire as a mage. Raúl blamed himself because Ines Reina's career as a mage was completely trashed because of his incompetence. However, this time around, Raúl is prepared to switch things around. Raúl pulls his short sword, and as the monster dashes toward him, he throws the short sword at it. Apparently, the monster has a skill that enhances its physical abilities, and just as Raúl expected, the monster easily deflects the sword. The monster continues its advance toward Raúl, and Raúl punches it hard on the head. This pisses off the monster, and just as it is about to punish Raúl for his stupidity, Raúl's power steals the body enhancement skill from the monster, ultimately improving Raúl's physical stats. The goblin stands in shock, wondering why it feels so powerless and useless while it is still trying to piece things together. Raúl easily cuts the monster in half from the head down. Ines Reina is stunned when she realizes that Raúl just defeated a red cap with just a single strike. Raúl, on the other hand, is amazed by his ability. The skill drained because of how impressive it is. He is lost in happiness when Ines Reina jeers him back to reality, asking him how he was able to defeat the monster. Realizing that it might be bad for him to say he has black skills, Raúl tells Ines Reina that it was nothing more than a coincidence. Ines Reina is screaming at Raúl to stop lying when she realizes that the exam is supposed to be cancelled because an abnormal monster has just appeared in the dungeon. Ines Reina tells Raúl that the event has to be reported to the headquarters. Raúl is worried about himself, and he reminds Ines Reina that he still has 2 more monostones to collect. But Ines Reina screams at him, telling him that he's in the wrong situation to be thinking about monostones because it is dangerous. Just as fate would have it, 2 regular goblins appear in the distance, and Raúl quickly takes them down by slicing their heads off. These further shocks Ines Reina, leaving her mouth open. Raúl then picks up the mana stones that the goblins dropped, asking the lady if he is allowed to take them. Inés Reina is just too stunned to answer his question, and momentarily they return to the headquarters not long after this. Inés Reina shows up with Raúl's mage license. He has been officially given the mage status and he is placed in C rank. Raúl picks up the license and lets off a little smile because it took him just long enough to reach where he currently is. Inés Reina also shows him the details regarding the exchange of Mona Stones that he collected. Apparently, Mona Stones are a valuable energy source that doesn't emit CO2, in addition to being an energy source. It can be sold to the association. Raúl believes that defeating the Red Cap monster, which is a rank, will give him decent pay. He checks out the payment details and he almost screams out in shock because of the enormous amount there. For defeating the goblins, he's getting 1000, but the Red Cap alone gives him 3 million. Inés Reina urges him not to lose his mind yet because he defeated the Red Cap. Raúl is still surprised because he never knew that mages earn a lot of money, and Inés Reina tells him that he can even get more. This makes him curious, and he asks Inés Reina about the dungeons. After his discussion with Inés Reina, Raúl heads to a C-rank dungeon that has been reserved for him. Raúl is left in awe because in the past he could not enter a dungeon solo. However, with his new power, he is convinced that he can change the future just as he is about to step into the dungeon. He is suddenly grabbed by a skill known as mana. And Raúl turns around in frustration, and to his surprise he is being held down by Gustavo and Osvaldo. Osvaldo and Gustavo make fun of him for trying to enter a dungeon solo, telling him that it is against the rules. With a scornful face, Raúl tells the two that he is allowed because he has passed the mage examination. The two are surprised to hear this, and they assume that he is a chronic liar. Gustavo then walks up to Raúl and pushes his head down with the mana hand, telling him to show his skills if he has truly awakened apparently. The mana hand is a skill that compresses mana itself into physical property, even with the extreme body enhancement. Raúl realizes that he can't actually break free. However, he is not one to give up under tough situations, and he angrily headbutts Gustavo. Gustavo stumbles backward, and at the same time, Raúl steals his mana hand skill because he now possesses the mana hand. The one placed on him by Gustavo is ultimately disabled. An overwhelming blue aura emanates from his body. Shocking Gustavo and Osvaldo, Raúl wastes no time putting the mana hand into use by grabbing Gustavo with it, forcing him to admit that Raúl is truly an awakened. Osvaldo refuses to give Raúl his flowers and decides to attack him with a fireball. Raúl activates the enhancement skill and uses it to cut down the fire attack. Shocking Osvaldo, he's trying to fathom what just happened when Raúl reaches him with a blow that sends him across the room. Gustavo is shocked to see that Raúl can also use body enhancement, and while writhing in pain, Osvaldo asks Raúl if he is now a dual-colored mage. Raúl simply says no, and just then, his drain skill also steals Osvaldo's fireball, basically adding one more color to his skill list. Osvaldo's jaw almost drops when he sees this, because he has never seen or heard of a mage with 3 colors. Raúl shows him how dangerous he is by shooting a fireball at him, causing him to almost piss his pants. Raúl then asks them if they are still willing to fight, but the two stare at each other in fear before running off with their tail between their legs after they're gone. Raúl figures out that Caio won't be happy if he later finds out about what just happened. Basically, he was Caio's lapdog, and if he learns that Raúl has awakened a skill, he will definitely show up to crush him. Caio has already reached an impressive level 50, making him one of the strongest mages in the modern era. In addition to Caio, Raúl figures out that he has to be worried about the scary dungeon that will open soon enough to prepare himself for future problems. Raúl knows that he has to raise his level as much as he can, and he steps into the dungeon. Apparently, level is the foundation of strength, and leveling up lets a mage learn new skills that increase one's total mana pool. This also increases the amount of mana that a mage can control at once. Raúl is strolling in the dungeon when he is suddenly ambushed by a level 38 flame wizard. Surrounding the wizard are several fireballs, leaving Raúl terrified because he can only manage to create one fireball. The wizard is able to do this thanks to the enormous difference in levels. The wizard hurls his fireballs at Raúl, and even though he's able to block just one, Raúl is forced to change positions to dodge the other fireballs. Raúl figures out that he can defeat the monster head-on, but there is one thing that doesn't change. This is the fact that after using a skill, there is always an opening. And Raúl doesn't waste this opportunity as he dashes toward the wizard at great speed. Even though the opening is just 2 seconds, the wizard becomes totally powerless. In that moment, Raúl is able to punch the wizard so hard that he is sent flying while also stealing his fireball skill. In the process, the wizard finds himself on his arse, and when he tries to unleash his attack, he realizes that he has become powerless. Raúl then gives him a taste of his own medicine by hurling 5 fireballs at him, overwhelming him with a huge firepower that completely destroys him. Once the wizard is killed, Raúl is hit with notifications telling him that he has leveled up. He realizes that defeating higher level monsters gives a ton of experience points, even though it is quite difficult to take on higher ranked monsters. Raúl figures out that the skill drain ability gives him an edge. Raúl, checks his status window to see that he has climbed up to level 12 with this. Raúl sets a standard of level 30 for himself. He starts cutting through the dungeon, annihilating monsters left and right in no time. Raúl reaches level 27, but he realizes that he's already slowing down because leveling up is getting tougher. Raúl figures out that to reach level 30, he would have to defeat higher level opponents. Raúl then heads to the deepest part of the dungeon where he finds the boss room. Raúl is glad to have found this, since it is the perfect thing he needs. Raúl flings the door open, and when he steps into the room, he finds two level 30 imps and a level 45. Skull Demon Raúl is cautious the moment he sees this, but he figures out that stealing their techniques will help him gain the edge. Raúl dashes towards the Skull Demon, aiming to land a hit on it. But to his surprise, there is a mana barrier surrounding the monster, preventing him from activating his skill drain. The Skull Demon makes things harder by charging towards Raúl, almost ripping his head off. But he manages to dodge it with the sudden burst of energy from the monster. Raúl figures out that he would have to do something pretty useful to defeat the monster, since he doesn't have the power to drain the Skull Demon yet. He goes after the imps, he cuts down one of the imps, stealing the Ice Needle skill from it before turning it into barbecue with a fireball. The other IMP watches his friend turn into fire decorations but is too scared to make a move. Now, in possession of the Ice Needle, Raúl turns his attention to the Skull Demon and hits with the Ice Needle attack, ultimately crushing his mana barrier. However, the defeated IMP is immediately resumed thanks to the Skull Demon's power. Even though it is extra stress for Raúl, he is not complaining because defeating the imps will give him experience points, and it is just what he needs. He takes down the MP, again granting him another level upgrade. Because of the recent level upgrade, the amount of mana he can control also increases. In addition, he unlocks a new ability, Skill Synthesis. Raúl is relieved when he sees this, because it is exactly what he wants. He wastes no time combining the Ice Needle with the Fireball using the newly acquired Skill Synthesis. The red and blue skills merge together, creating a fire. Lance that Raúl shoots toward the Skull Demon. The Skull Demon puts up its mana barrier as usual, but the fire lance weakens it, giving Raúl the chance to break through and reach him with his punch. By hitting the Skull Demon, he is able to steal the mana barrier from him, but he doesn't stop there. He also steals the Extreme Body Enhancement, leaving the Skull Demon totally confused and powerless. Raúl then ruthlessly finishes off the Skull Demon by pushing a fire lance into its chest to engulf it in fire. A large green mana stone drops from taking out the Skull Demon, and he also jumps from level 28 to level 33. Raúl heaves a sigh of relief after defeating the tough monster thanks to the Skill Synthesis ability. Apparently, it is an advanced technique that is meant to create even more powerful skills, and it is available from around level 30. This was what Raúl was hoping for, and he is glad that he could pull it off just in time. Raúl is enjoying his winner's moment when the system informs him that he met the level requirement, and the number of kills he can retain via the skill drain has increased. His skill slots have jumped from 3 to 5, and Raúl smiles because he knows that things are just gonna get easier for him. After he's done checking out everything he needs to, he steps out of the dungeon and heads to the headquarters to submit the green monostone. Ines Reina is blown away when she realizes that Raúl defeated a Skull Demon and has even reached level 33 inches just a day. Raúl smiles nervously, claiming that he only got lucky, but Ines Reina lets him know that it is unheard of to go past level 30 in just a single day. Ines Reina lets him know that with his current level, he can even become a B-rank mage. Just then, Raúl hears a familiar voice echoing behind, and with it comes a terrifying aura. The voice is none other than his brother Cayo. And Cayo believes that there is a mistake, because there is no way Raúl is B. Rank Cayo further adds that Raúl is a colorless dude who has no talent whatsoever. Ines Reina defends Raúl, saying he actually defeated a red cap and the Skull Demon. The moment Cayo hears this, he loses it and immediately attacks Raúl. He throws a powerful punch straight at his chest. Cayo easily blocks it with the newly acquired Monagar while smiling at him and telling him to be careful with Raúl's ability to block his punch. Cayo finally believes the rumor that his brother has awakened with skills. However, Cayo is not all that impressed, and he urges Raúl to watch his back because he would like to see just how capable he is. Ines Reina notices that Cayo is acting all careless, forcing her to ask him if he is gearing up for a fight. Cayo claims that there will be no issue if Raúl is truly B rank like they claim he is, unless he is just a false mage who sneaked his way to B. Rank Raúl figures out that rejecting Cayo's demands will only set him up for future embarrassments and trouble. Raúl then decides to accept Cayo's challenge, and this shocks Cayo, but at the same time pisses him off. The two then head to the headquarters arena to settle their differences. Raúl figures out that he has to be cautious about the amount of mana that he can control at once, since he's going up against an opponent stronger than him. Raúl also knows that he has to stay on guard at all times, since his max combo is 3 basic skills, while that of Cayo is 5 skills. With these numbers alone, Raúl is pretty sure that he is going to lose against him if he tries to fight him head-on to make it fair. Raúl figures out that he has to bring in something special once they are ready to fight. Raúl attacks with the ice needles, and Caio responds with fireballs. The two attacks clash in the middle, leaving a loud explosion and a cloud of dust. This blinds Caio's vision, and before he knows it, Raúl reaches him with a body enhancement. Shocking him, Caio is surprised to see that his brother is now a dual color wielder. On the other hand, Raúl is trying to calculate the number of skill mana left for Caio to use, since he has used one already as he moves closer to Caio. He activates the skill synthesis to create the fire lance. Caio is surprised to see this, but it basically lets him know that his brother can now use 3 color skills. However, he is not worried one bit about it. Just as Raúl is about to reach him, Caio welcomes him with a powerful fireball that destroys Raúl's fire lance before sending him to the ground. Raúl's face lights up in horror because his fire lance, which took 2 skills worth of mana to use, was easily taken out with just a simple skill. Caio mocks his brother, telling him that he might be able to use 3 skill colors, but he can't compare to him because he is on a totally different level to properly put Raúl in his place. Caio shoots deadly fireballs at him. Raúl is forced to run around to try and dodge the fireballs while also creating a fire lance. He shoots the fire lance at Caio, but Caio responds with his usual the fireball. Caio's fireball breaks through and heads straight for Raúl, but he immediately puts up a mana barrier. However, the mana barrier cannot compare to Caio's power, and it shatters, sending Raúl to the ground yet again. With Raúl on the ground, Caio walks toward him, telling him to bow his head in respect, and he would forget about everything that has happened. So far, he wants Raúl to admit that he is trash compared to him. Deep down, Raúl knows that he can win against Caio with his little moves and output, but he is not willing to give up because he will continue living like a slave determined to make his own name. He gets on his feet, screaming at Caio to tell him that he will never bow to him. Caio is pissed when he sees this, and he tells Raúl that he might just have to kill him. Caio immediately activates the Overlock skill, which consumes a large amount of mana, but doubles the amount of mana that can be controlled. At once, with the Overlock in place, Caio is able to conjure several fireballs, and he confidently tells Raúl that he is about to witness the power of a king, a 10 combo attack. Raúl is gripped with fear when he sees this, because he recognizes the power. Since it is Caio's ultimate move, basically, he is one person who can use a considerable amount of mana when compared to those on his level. However, this is something Raúl has been betting on, and has been expecting Caio to use. Raúl leaps toward Caio, and Caio makes fun of him, asking him if he thinks he can dodge his attack midair. Raúl finds himself contending against a bunch of fireballs, but he activates the mana hand, shocking Caio because he wasn't expecting another skill. Raúl knows that no matter how powerful Caio is, he is bound by a cooldown. He manages to dodge the fireballs, and he reaches Caio just in time. Caio is on his cooldown period when Raúl reaches him, and he punches him in the face. Raúl's punch is so heavy that it sends Caio across the arena. And by punching him, Raúl also manages to steal his overload skill. Raúl is pleased with the outcome, since he was able to steal the overload skill too. Raúl believes that he has won the fight, but Caio gets back on his feet with a disfigured face, threatening to kill Raúl. Just then, Caio pulls out the Demon Lance skill, shocking Raúl since he wasn't expecting Caio to have learned the skill yet. Apparently, it is Caio's greatest skill, which makes it completely dangerous. Raúl watches as the lance comes straight at him, but before it can hit, Raúl manages to get out of the way. Raúl is forced to admit that the speed of the lance is something else. Raúl finally realizes that he was only able to land a hit on Caio because he was being careless, but things have changed now that Caio has gotten really serious. Raúl finds himself running around the arena because the strength level between him and Caio has skyrocketed. Even with the destruction he has caused to the arena, Caio is nowhere near done. Raúl tries to fight back with his fire lance, but Caio overpowers his skill with the demon lance. The wave from the explosion sends Raúl straight into the wall, and he screams as he hits the wall. Caio makes fun of him, saying this is exactly why he is called the Purple King. Raúl has no choice but to admit that Caio is actually right, because his demon lance is one of the strongest. Caio stands above Raúl yet again, telling him not to get cocky, just because he can use several skills. Raúl admits that he is no match for Caio in his current state, but it suddenly dawns on him that the game is going to change. If he can find the potential of the purple skill before the fight, the limit to his synthesis is 2 colors. But Raúl totally changes the game up by activating the Overlord skill. Caio is shocked when he sees his brother tap into the Overlord skill. As if it is nothing because of the Overlord, his mana capacity automatically increases, and he unlocks the skill synthesis. Raúl smiles when he figures out that he has hit the jack, but Caio is worried because he doesn't know what sinister plan that he is cooking up just then. Raúl does something that no one has ever done before, and this is combining 3 colors together. Raúl adds the red skill to the blue skill, and tops it all up with the yellow skill, ultimately turning it into black mana, leaving Caio's mouth agape. Basically, the mana colors available are red, yellow, and blue. Raúl has always been told that he doesn't have an affinity for these 3 colors, but unknown to them, they are all wrong. Raúl is a totally different and rare breed, because he is a dark mage, unheard of in the history of mages. With the combination of the 3 colors, Raúl creates the abyss flame that looks really deadly. Fear grips Cayo, and he frantically launches a demon lance at Raúl, screaming at him to stay away. Raúl spots the lance and throws the abyss fireball at it, crushing it in an instant. Once the demon lance is out of the way, Raúl runs toward Cayo as he prepares another ball of fire. Cayo is unwilling to give up, and he summons another giant demon lance in preparation for Cayo's attack. Cayo launches his demon lance, and Raúl meets it halfway with the fireball. Raúl's fireball overwhelms and consumes the demon lance, leaving a big explosion that knocks Cayo out. Raúl cannot believe his eyes as he falls to the ground in amazement that he has finally defeated Cayo. The system notification pops on, telling him that he has acquired the Abyss Flame, all thanks to the skill synthesis. Moments later, Ines Reina walks up to Raúl in complete shock, asking him what type of skill he just used. Raúl is already worried about this, because he knows that he can keep hiding his skill and strength forever. Raúl acts like a cool dude and showcases his skill, saying it appears to be a black skill. It sends a wave of shock through Ines Reina's body. Since Raúl is the first black skill user, Raúl then asks her if he is obligated to report the nature of his skill to the association, because he would like to keep it a secret between them. Ines Reina is surprised to hear this, and she tells Raúl that he is missing an opportunity. Raúl wonders what opportunity he might be missing, and Ines Reina reminds him that the strongest mage in each color is always given the title of a king, which basically means he is the Black King. Since there is no one else, Raúl gives it a deep thought, and even though the offer is tempting, he tells Ines Reina that he doesn't want it at the time. Raúl knows he's still weak, which doesn't fit a king. Just then he remembers that his brother is still passed out in the arena, and he asks Ines Reina if he will be okay. Ines Reina lets him know that Cayo is one of the kings, and he is sure to recover soon, even though he is critically injured nonetheless. Ines Reina plans to take him to the medical room. Suddenly they get an emergency notification on the phone, and when he checks it, he realizes that a dungeon has appeared in the western entrance of Ikabukuro Park, and the recommended mage level to enter is 17 Heses. Reina is shocked when she sees this, but Raúl was already expecting it, because he knew it had happened in his past life. It is a level 70 dungeon where most of the kings are still in level 50. And in the first week of the dungeon's appearance, the kings realized just how weak they were because of this. They abandoned the Ikebukuro dungeon. But unknown to them, it is the starting point of a tragedy. Apparently, the dungeon suffered a dungeon collapse because a dungeon is expected to be conquered within a time frame, or else the monster will come rushing out. Ikabukuro Dungeon was the first of the dungeons where the dungeon outbreak happened. The appearance of the monsters resulted in so many deaths, leaving the city of Tokyo overwhelmed with monsters. In return, a lot of people died because of the terrifying number of monsters that raided the streets. However, Raúl is prepared to stop the tragedy from happening all over again, no matter what it takes. Ines Reina almost loses her balance. When Raúl tells her his plan to conquer the dungeon, Ines Reina tries telling him how dangerous the dungeon is, even if he is quite strong. In addition to this, only rank mages are allowed to enter the dungeon, because the recommendation level is way above 50. Since there is a bit of time before the dungeon outbreak, Raúl confirms if the rank promotion exam is still next week, and Ines Reina says yes. Since this is the case, Raúl tells Ines Reina his plan to rise to a rank by the time he takes the next examination. Ines Reina is further surprised when she hears this, but she can't deny the fact that Raúl can actually pass the exam with his skills. However, she sounds like there is a problem, and Raúl asks her what it is. Ines Reina then tells him that to take a rank promotion test, that he has to clear a B-rank dungeon with a party first. This basically means he has to form a party in one and clear a B-rank dungeon. And Raúl has completely forgotten this. Raúl checks his phone and all he sees are trash messages about people telling him that there is no way they will form a party with him. Since he has to clear a B-rank dungeon before the week runs out, Raúl knows he is in a difficult position because it is hard to clear solo. Raúl is left racking his brain, thinking of what he can do to get out of his sticky situation just then. He hears some mages scolding their colleague for being so weak. This gets to Raúl, who remembers that he was always treated like trash, just like the outcast. Apparently the girl's name is Ichinose Aya, and her colleagues are not even holding back and calling her a dead weight the moment Raúl hears Aya's name. And he remembers something quite important. It turns out that Aya would be known as the Scarlet King in the future, but she is still known as an incompetent mage in the current time, even though she is weak. Raúl is disappointed that her party members are treating her like trash. Aya tried telling her team members that she can't afford to be kicked out of the party because she won't be able to foot her sister's medical bills. She promises to do better the next time they enter a dungeon, and the party leader tells her that she will be waiting to see what she can do during the raid. For that very day, she lets Aya know that she's definitely off the team if she messes up, and Aya nervously agrees to this. Aya and her team then step out to take on a dungeon, but Raúl is worried that things might not go well. Raúl knows that Aya became the Scarlet King in the years to come, but she suffered loads of hardships before then. Raúl remembers that it was around this time that she was involved in a certain incident, apparently. She was critically injured during a boss battle, and she went into a coma for years. Suddenly it dawns on Raúl that the incident might be that very day. Even though Raúl is not sure about it, he could see that Aya was acting really weird, to prevent something crazy from happening to her. Raúl decides that he needs to step in. Meanwhile, Aya and her team have encountered the dungeon boss Delahan, a level 45 monster. Suddenly, the party leader does something extremely crazy, and she pushes Aya into the monster's range so she can use her as bait. She tells Aya to fight the monster all by herself, and Aya tries reminding her that she can't win against the monster alone. The party leader then tells Aya that she will be kicked out if she can't take on the boss monster by herself. Aya is pushed into a corner by the party leader's demand, but she believes that she has no choice. Since everything she is doing is for her sister's sake, the party watches in amusement as Aya walks toward the boss and hurls a fireball at it. Aya's fireball hits the target, but the monster doesn't move an inch from where it is. Aya freaks out when she realizes that her strike was useless against the monster. Suddenly, the Dolahan leaps toward her, ready to smash her to death with its big sword. The sword hits right in front of her, causing a big wave that shatters the ground and sends her crashing to the ground, totally at the monster's mercy. The monster is about to finish her off when Raúl appears on the scene, and with the help of his extreme body enhancement, he blocks the monster's attack. Aya is shocked when she sees a savior appear right in front of her, preventing her from dying. Raúl puts all of his strength into repelling the attack, and he pushes the monster backward. Aya is left in awe, and Raúl turns around to make sure that she is fine. Aya's party members are not happy that someone out of nowhere showed up to ruin their plan. They know that Dullahan is a scary monster with terrifying weight, but Raúl pushed it away like it was nothing. Just then, Dullahan gets back on its feet and lets off a loud roar that hits every corner of the room. Raúl is not surprised that the monster is still alive because the Dullahan's armor is obviously enhanced with a strengthening skill, which makes regular attacks completely useless against it. Since this is the case, Raúl decides to steal the skill and nullify it. Raúl risks everything and leaps toward the monster to try and touch it. He manages to touch the monster and he activates the skill drain, but to his surprise, the skill refuses to come on. Raúl is forced to jump backwards before he is sliced in half by the monster. Raúl returns to where Aya is and she asks him if he is fine. Raúl lets her know that he is good because he managed to block the monster's attack. With his sword, Raúl finally figures out that Dullahan's armor is its external part, and to get the skill drain to work, he has to touch the internal part of its body just then. Dullahan smashes its sword on the ground, releasing a massive energy blast from it. Raúl raises his mana barrier and screams at Aya to stay behind him, so she doesn't get hit. Raúl's mana barrier successfully blocks the incoming attack, but the wave from the attack sends the party members flying around like papers. Only the party leader remains standing, and she angrily launches an ice lance at the monster. Surprisingly, Dullahan blocks the attack and retaliates with a counterattack that the lady couldn't dodge. She finds herself getting thrown into a wall. Since the ice lance was useless against Delahan, Raúl figures out that he needs a skill that is beyond the monster's strengthening skill. Raúl resorts to using his abyss flame, and he wastes no time cooking up a black fireball, shocking Aya. Raúl hurls the black flame directly at the monster, and Dullahan also sends its energy wave in Raúl's way. The two attacks meet halfway, but Raúl's flame is just too powerful, and it overwhelms Dullahan's energy blast. The black flame reaches Delahan before it even gets the chance to do anything, and it is engulfed in fire. Raúl restricts the monster's movements with the mana hand to make sure that the black flame does its job. This is enough to burn through whatever armor strengthening skill that Dolohan has, and it crumbles to dust from the overwhelming power of the black flame. With the Dolohan dead, it drops a large green monostone, but Aya is more concerned about the amazing power that Raúl possesses. She is completely impressed with how he was able to take down the monster with just one hit, and she nervously thanks Raúl for saving her life. Raúl smiles while telling the girl that he is just glad that she is fine. Deep down, Raúl is really happy that he managed to save Aya from dying. Aya's annoying party leader finally gets back on her feet, looking completely pissed. She figures out that Raúl is quite strong, but her greediness makes her crave the reward for taking down the monster. She walks up to Raúl, telling him to hand over the mana stone, because they were the ones who applied to conquer the dungeon. Aya is shocked to hear this, and she is forced to remind the annoying lady that Raúl just saved their lives. Raúl even tells the lady that he has no problem giving her the mana stone, but in exchange for this, Raúl tells the lady that he wants Aya to be in his party. This shocks the party leader, and even Aya herself. Raúl then turns to Aya saying she is also free to make her choice. As he's not imposing on her, the party leader bursts into maniacal laughter when she hears this and tells Raúl that she wholeheartedly agrees with the deal. She taps Aya on the shoulder, asking her if she is also fine with the deal. Aya suddenly replies that she is in on the deal, and she tells Raúl that she is now in his care. The party leader collects the mana stone, and as she walks away, she talks about how she has managed to strike a good deal by exchanging a useless party member unknown to her, but known to Raúl. Aya is the real deal after the party is gone. Aya thanks Raúl once again for saving her, and Raúl apologizes for making her leave her party. All of a sudden, Aya, on the other hand, doesn't think too much about herself because she believes that she is just going to drag Raúl down. Raúl then tells her that she has nothing to worry about because she is going to get stronger and even stronger than those who abandoned her. Aya is shocked to hear this because She doesn't see herself as someone who is going to get stronger. Raúl then tells her that he heard her conversation with her former party members at the headquarters, but he assures her that it was not intentional because of what he heard. Raúl tells Aya that he can be her support. Aya is relieved to hear this and she tells Raúl that she is willing to be in his care. Raúl smiles, realizing that he has successfully bagged gold. The following day, Raúl and Aya prepare to step out in an attempt to conquer a B-rank dungeon. Aya asks if they are liable to take the rank exam if they conquer the dungeon, and Raúl says yes. In addition to this, Raúl lets her know that there is actually something that will make her stronger inside the dungeon. This gets Aya curious because she knows that getting stronger will help her earn more money to pay her sister's medical bills. Excited at this, Aya shows Raúl how hyped she is to take on the dungeon, the 2 steps into the B-rank dungeon, which is a crystal cave. The first set of monsters that they come across are black wolves, and this scares Aya. However, Raúl urges her to stay back while he takes care of the monsters. Raúl runs toward the monsters and he activates the extreme body enhancement. Before reaching them, armed with his sword, he cuts down the monsters like tissue. He slices them open one after the other, shocking Aya, who is watching from behind. She's in awe at just how strong Raúl is, because his strength can be compared to that of her former party members. Even though they were strong, Raúl then leads Aya to exactly where he wants them to go. Assuring her that he is going to support her, he urges her to follow the plan, and Aya walks toward the monsters in an attempt to defeat them so she can level up pretty fast. Even though she can only use simple attacks, she is willing to try her best against the monsters. Aya conjures her fireballs in preparation for the little monsters, running up to her. Meanwhile, Raúl is standing and watching from behind because he has set Aya up for the perfect test to make her realize her own weapon. While Aya is dealing with the tiny monsters, a huge one appears from behind. But Raúl is ready to deal with it because he's not in the mood to allow anything to tamper with what Aya has going on. Aya manages to defeat the monsters, but no matter how much she does, they just keep coming. As if they have infinite respawn cards, she even gets beaten on her left arm to make things worse for her, because she is gonna run out of mana. If she finds a way around the annoying monsters, Aya is thinking about how hard her life is. When she looks up to see Raúl taking on a bunch of tougher monsters just so he can make things easier for her. This is when it finally dawns on her that she needs to stop complaining and start acting instead. Aya is ready to live up to the standards that Raúl is setting for her, and she uses her emotions to conjure a fireball. She hurls the fireball at the monsters, and thanks to the emotions behind it, the fireball grows large enough to consume the monsters like chips. Aya is shocked when she realizes that her fireball is getting bigger, but her mana is not running out. Raúl, on the other hand, is glad that Aya is finally getting a hold of her powers because she is actually suited for the battle of endurance. Basically, her monopole is her greatest weapon and she has just discovered it. Aya is left in awe when she realizes that she has unlocked the skill Blast Furnace. Momentarily, the two arrive at the boss's room, which houses a level 52 huge slime. As Raúl charges toward the slime, he tells Aya to use her new skill against the slime. Aya acknowledges the order and she lets go of her Blast Furnace, releasing an overwhelming firepower that shocks her. She cannot believe that she is capable of such terrifying power. On the other hand, Raúl is aware of what she is capable of, because the Blast Furnace is a skill that increases the firepower of her skill, but at a high mana cost. It basically goes with her skill set. But suddenly it dawns on Raúl that the level of firepower that he is witnessing is higher than what he thought. Aya's firepower engulfs the entire room, turning it red, and she ultimately wipes out the slime after the boss is defeated. Raúl walks up to her, commending her for a job well done. Aya is initially shaken, but she pulls herself together and starts laughing, because she never thought she was capable of such amazing power. However, she doesn't waste a second to appreciate Raúl, because it is all thanks to him that she discovered her potential after conquering the B-rank dungeon. And the two return to the surface, and she mentions that they have managed to fulfill the condition that allows them to participate in the A-rank exam, meaning what is left is to take the exam. Raúl smiles at her, confirming this. But deep down, he is edging to take the exam and pass, because it is a must on the day of the A-rank examination. The two head to the association, and Ines Reina tells them that they are going to have to measure their combat capabilities and pair them with someone for a mock battle. Raúl is ready to take on the exam and pass, so he can finally become an rank mage for his next plan. Aya is also excited, and she urges Raúl to put in his best too. Just then, they run into former party members, and the annoying leader Isabel Soto. They make fun of her for trying to take the exam. But Raúl steps up to defend Aya, telling the party members that Aya is not going to lose to cowards like them. Isabel Soto scoffs and then mocks Raúl, telling him that she has better party members that he can get instead of the useless Aya. Just then, the said party member appears in the distance, and it turns out to be a lady, Aono Yuri. This immediately gets Raúl worried, because he has heard the name in his past life. Apparently, Yuri was so powerful that she once soloed a very dangerous dungeon without much stress. It was after this that she became really famous, and judging by the present circumstances, Raúl easily figures out that Yuri is probably around a rank mage already. Yuri then walks up to Raúl saying that he looks like someone who is quite interesting. This catches Raúl off guard, leaving him to stare at Yuri. Weirdly, Aya is worried about how Raúl is acting and she calls his name. The mention of his name immediately tells Yuri who he is, as she is able to figure out that he is Cayo's elder brother. In addition, she has learned that Cayo lost to him. And the news of this shocks Raúl because he didn't know his feats had gone far amongst the mages. Aya, on the other hand, is totally shocked that Raúl defeated Cayo and she is forced to ask him if it is true. Yuri then turns around to tell Raúl that he might be impressive but he has no chance against. Yuri mentions that the Purple King Cayo is weaker than her momentarily. The mages gather at the training center to try out their combat skills against the artificial golem provided by the association. Apparently, the golem is covered with a special rock that is harder than a normal rock and the mages are urged to do their best against it. Raúl is the first person to be called forward to try out his strength against the golem. He stands in front of the golem and conjures a fireball. But the mages present start laughing at him for trying to use a fire element against a metal element, golem. As he dashes toward the golem, Raúl is pretty sure that the fire element will be totally useless against the golem. But just before he reaches the golem, he combines the fire attack with the ice shard to create the fire lance. Raúl shoots the fire lance at the golem and it shatters the golem's head, leaving a cloud of smoke in its wake. The supervisor checks out the golem, and the moment he gets no response, he confirms that the golem has been defeated. The mages who were mocking Raúl before started murmuring in awe, because they never expected Raúl to take down the golem with just a single hit. Yuri, on the other hand, is impressed with the way Raúl infused the two elements together to create an even powerful element. Raúl smiles because he is obviously proud of how he handled the entire situation for Aya. She undergoes the mana pool measurement test and she is required to hold the crystal ball with her hands to get the accurate measurement. Just as she is about to touch the crystal ball, her former party members are already mocking her, saying she should be ashamed that she came to take the exam. However, everyone in the room is left reeling in their pants. When the device displays her overwhelming firepower, Isabel Soto cannot believe this, and she assumes that Aya is most definitely cheating. Once they are done with the other prerequisites, the examiner tells the mages that the mock battles are the last thing on the list. For the first match of the mock battle, Aya is pitted against her nemesis, Isabel Soto. Aya stays calm as she is about to take on the lady, but Isabel Soto can't wait to fight Aya so she can expose her for who she really is. The battle begins, and Isabel Soto launches a bunch of ice needles at Aya, but she easily shatters everything with a giant fireball that blows shards of ice everywhere, almost blinding the caster herself. Isayama is shocked when she sees this, because she never expected Aya to have such an overwhelming firepower skill. Isayama is startled, but Aya has not even started. Aya creates another fireball and she hurls it at Isabel Soto. Isabel Soto senses the terrifying power behind the fireball and immediately puts up a mana barrier hoping that this would save her. Before the attack hits, she is already mocking Aya for being a fool, because her attack plan is quite simple. She plans to block Aya's attack before launching a counter attack to get her off. Suddenly she realizes something crazy, and this is the fact that Aya's attack is not stopping anytime soon. Aya continues, launching a series of fireballs at Isabel Soto and her mana barrier, and because of the consecutive attacks, the mana barrier breaks apart, exposing Isabel Soto's fear behind it. Isayama turns to her usual cowardice move, but as she runs away, she is hit by one of the resulting rubble from Aya's fireball attack. Isayama gets hit in the back of her head, and as she crashes to the ground, every fiber of her existence refuses to believe that Aya has surpassed her in strength. She crashes to the ground, and the examiner stops the battle, declaring Aya the winner. Aya's face lights up in excitement, and as she returns to the stands, Raúl commends her for a job well done. Aya smiles, saying she can't believe that she won, but she wishes Raúl good luck in his battle against Yuri. Yuri remains calm as she tells Raúl to step into the arena for their battle. As they step into the ring, Yuri asks Raúl if there is any particular reason as to why he is taking the examination. Raúl stays mute, and Yuri says she can see that he is more prepared compared to the other participants. Raúl then replies that he has something that he needs to do no matter what, which is why he can't allow Yuri to stop him. Yuri smiles when she hears this, and she lets off an overwhelming aura, reminding Raúl that she is pretty strong. Raúl assures her that he is aware of this, but he is confident that he is going to win. Yuri is impressed by his confidence, and to put the talks to aside, she suggests that they do battle instead. Yuri starts with the attacks first and she launches a series of mana blades at Raúl. Raúl whips out his sword to try and block the blades, but he struggles apparently. Yuri uses a skill called mana conversion that allows the user to manipulate their mana freely. Just then, Yuri surprises Raúl with a powerful and overwhelming attack that almost crushes him, but he manages to get out of the way in time. Yuri smiles evilly, saying Raúl is lucky to have dodged the attack. But Yuri is tired of staying on the defensive, and he decides to go on the offense. Instead, he runs toward her. But Yuri is not gonna allow him to get to her just easily. She hurls some long-range attacks at him, but he blocks them using his mana barrier, Raúl then dashes toward her and he swings his sword really hard in an attempt to decapitate her. But she jumps backwards while she's still in the air. Raúl tries to finish her off with his fire lance, but Yuri uses the Mona conversion skill to create a shield to protect herself. Her shield is able to hold off against Raúl's powerful lance attack, but she admits that he tried his best. Raúl, on the other hand, is worried because her defense appears to be totally flawless. Without a doubt, Raúl can see that she's absolutely strong. Yuri then makes the next move by launching several long-range beams at Raúl, forcing him to run around the arena. In an attempt to dodge, Raúl admits that Yuri's attacks are troublesome, and Yuri on the other hand mocks him, saying he has no chance if he thinks he can run around to win. Raúl then turns toward her, and she locks on him with her attacks, believing that it is over for him. However, Raúl has something else planned. Just as the attacks are about to hit him, he activates his physical enhancement and cuts down everything that Yuri throws at him, shocking her. However, she's not done with Raúl just yet. Yuri admits that it is her first time seeing someone who can wield three colors. However, she shocks him, saying she can also use body enhancement too. She activates the skill and then conjures a scythe using her primary skill. Suddenly, she vanishes right in front of Raúl, and by the time she reappears, she's behind him. Raúl almost loses his head, but manages to turn just in time to block the attack. Raúl is thrown backward from the overwhelming attack, and with just how fast Yuri is, Raúl soon finds himself on the defensive again, as Yuri hunts him down. Raúl cannot believe the amount of overwhelming power that the girl possesses, and because of this, he decides to go to extremes. He allows Yuri to get close and he grabs her hand. But Yuri mocks him for this, believing that there is nothing to make of it. Suddenly she realizes that something is wrong with her. And before she knows it, Raúl has stolen her body enhancement skill. She starts stumbling backwards, with the realization that her power is leaving her with no way to defend herself. Raúl gets the perfect opening to land a perfect hit straight into her chest. Yuri coughs up in pain as she falls to the ground. She cannot believe that Raúl was actually hiding his true power all the while with Yuri on the ground and unable to fight back. Raúl is declared the winner of the duel later on. Yuri wakes up in the hospital to see Raúl and Aya standing beside her. The two are happy to see her back to life, and she admits that she totally lost the fight. She tells Raúl that she wasn't expecting him to be strong the way he is. Yuri then asks him why he has come to visit her. With a humble voice and stance, Raúl bows his head, asking Yuri if she would mind joining his party. Yuri is shocked when she hears this, and Raúl lets her know that after reassessing the battle, she also got promoted to a rank. Raúl admits that they need Yuri if they are to have a chance at conquering difficult dungeons. Raúl is still talking when Yuri cuts him off by laughing out loud, saying he is a really interesting fellow. Yuri doesn't drag things further, and she tells Raúl that she doesn't mind following his lead. Raúl is glad to hear this, and the two shake hands to seal the deal. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking ferociously. Leaving Raúl totally worried, he wonders what could be happening and unknown to him. Kronos is actually trying to break off from where he is in prison, and all he needs is just a bit more strength to pull it off. When the shaking stopped, Raúl remembered that in his past life, a lot of earthquakes similar to this had happened before. The Ikabukuro dungeon later collapsed. Raúl figures out that they are reaching the time limit for the dungeon break already. Even though the dungeon is pretty difficult to take on, Raúl doesn't think they have a choice. At this point in time, just then he tells the two girls his plan to conquer the dungeon. And this scares the crap out of them. They remind him that the dungeon is the most difficult in the region, which makes it even more dangerous for the three of them. Yuri then asks him if he's suggesting that they conquer the dungeon because of the earthquake that happened. And Raúl confesses that he has a bad feeling about it. Raúl says that there are several reports concerning abnormal monsters, and he wants to believe that it is a prerequisite to something more dangerous. Yuri doesn't really care about whatever Raúl says as long as she follows his lead, realizing that Yuri is on board. Aya also assures Raúl of her support. Raúl is glad to hear this, and he thanks them for the support. The next day, Raúl and his party submit a request to conquer the Ikabukuro dungeon to Inés Reina. Their request is approved, and the trio heads to the dungeon entrance, being the insane person she is. Yuri is super excited to take on the dungeon. Aya mentions that it would have been better if they had enough numbers to help with, but Raúl says this is impossible, since the association is limited to the number of ranked mages that they can deploy. He then says it would have been nice if a certain person called Osvaldo were with them before the regression. Osvaldo was known to be one of the best in Japan. Raúl fears that Kronos will appear again if the dungeon break happens, and he's determined to make sure that it doesn't before entering. The girls urge Raúl to get formalities out of the way and call them by their regular names to waste no further time. He agrees to this, and the trio steps into the dungeon afterward. Upon entering, the first monster they come across is a level 71. Skull Demon Raúl is shocked to see this since the monster is a boss in other low-level dungeons, but it is already showing up at the entrance of the dungeon without fear. The trio charges toward the Skull Demon, and it immediately puts up a mana barrier. Raúl figures out that getting the mana barrier out of the way is the first thing to do, and he shoots a fire lance at the barrier. However, a single hit from the fire lance appears to be too weak to destroy the barrier. Aya and Yuri then unleash their combined efforts to take down the barrier, giving Raúl the open chance to run toward it. and slice it in half. As usual, defeating the Skull Demon provides them with a big green Mona stone. Raúl commends the ladies for their impeccable timing in taking down the barrier. Yuri then finally summons the courage to ask Raúl how it is that he is able to use so many skills. Raúl takes a minute, but he finally answers, revealing that he has an ability called Skill Drain. The girls are confused by this, and Raúl explains that just by touching, he is able to steal someone else's skill. It finally dawns on Yuri what happened during their duel. However, Raúl assures Yuri that he has already returned her skill. Aya, on the other hand, is totally blown away because she wasn't expecting Raúl to have such an overpowered skill. She finally realizes why Raúl wanted them to take on the dungeon. And she concludes that they are in safe hands as long as Raúl is with them. Aya is also determined to make sure that she is not a burden to the team. With this, the team continues their advance deeper into the dungeon, and shortly afterward they arrive at the boss's room. Aya points out that the rumbling of the ground is getting more intense. She is forced to ask if they really have what it takes to take on the boss. Monster Raúl then tells Aya that they have undergone a level increase on their way to the boss's room, and with this, he believes that they should be able to pull it off. Aya admits that the dude is right with his analysis, and she is ready to prove herself to the team that she is not a drawback. Suddenly, something appears behind and grabs Aya. Before any of them can react, they turn around to see a terrifying creature. A level 89 Grim Reaper, which is the boss of the dungeon. Raúl is ultimately shocked and terrified since the boss shouldn't be out of its room. This leaves several questions running through his head, but the main focus of everything is that they are in a deep mess. Raúl then tells Yuri that things might look bad, but they have no choice but to save. Raúl screams at Aya to make sure that she is fine. Apparently, Aya was able to cast a mana barrier to prevent herself from getting crushed, but at the same time, Raúl is worried, because Aya might have a large pool of mana, but there is still a limit to it. Even though the best option for him is to use his Abyss Flame, he can't. Since Aya will be caught in the crossfire, the only solution to the problem is to actually find a way to help her out of the situation. Raúl then tells Yuri that he is going to try his best to get the tentacle's attention, and he urges her to find a way to save Aya with a seemingly solid plan. The two charge toward the monster. Raúl puts himself directly where the monster is facing and almost gets hit with a tentacle, but he narrowly dodges it. The damage from the tentacle shatters the floor, shocking Raúl. He immediately figures out that he is done for if he suffers a direct hit just when he thinks he is out of danger. One of the tentacles appears from behind. Aya believes that the dude is done for as she screams out his name in pain. Fortunately for Raúl, he was able to get himself out of the tight situation using Mona Hand, and he heaved a sigh of relief. While the entire chaos is unfolding, Yuri has gotten the chance to reach the monster. She swings her scythe, hoping to land a critical hit, but her attack bounces off, and this is when they realize that the monster has a strengthening skill. Yuri is forced to retreat before she gets crushed between the monster's large tentacles. Raúl checks on her, and she assures the dude that she is doing quite fine. However, the two could see that there was something strange about the whole thing. Basically, tentacle monsters always have low defense, and this is the first time that Raúl will be seeing one, with a strengthening skill. In addition to the list of weird things going on around the monster is that it is outside its room, unknown to him. Kronos is playing a big role in everything that is unfolding right in front of him. However, the monster is coming at them with so much rage that they don't have the time to start thinking of what to do, while she is stuck inside her protective barrier. Aya believes that what the other two are facing is basically her fault. She figures out that she has been too passive because she is always relying on Raúl to fix things. She starts racking her brain to think of something that he can actually do to help out in the situation. Yuri and Raúl soon have a huge problem on their hands because they are almost out of mana thanks to the number of battles that they have been involved in. Raúl is about to give up on the situation when he suddenly remembers something. He screams at Aya, telling her to hit them with her mana fusion. Aya is shocked to hear this, and the same goes for Yuri, who thinks the skill is useless. Since it consumes a lot of mana, Raúl understands why they think this, because the skill was considered useless in his past life too. But thanks to a certain mage, the skill's value was later discovered. This said mage is none other than Aya herself, as she was the one who figured it out before the regression. Aya is also conflicted about the skill since he hasn't used it before, but since Raúl is asking her to do it, she is willing just then. Aya lets loose of her skill and it hits the two just as planned. Surprisingly, Yuri realizes that her mana is starting to recover, but Raúl just smiles because he knows the essence of the skill. Apparently, mana fusion has an effect that shares the mana of the user, but it is a skill that only a mage with a large amount of mana can master. Aya is excited when she sees this, but suddenly she realizes that the amount of mana that she is sharing is not enough. It then dawns on her that her mana sharing is restricted. Because of the mana barrier she activated to properly help the team, she releases her mana barrier, giving the monster the chance to grab her tightly. However, Aya is able to release all of her for the two to operate with. Once she is done doing this, she weakly tells the two that the rest is up to them with the sacrifice of their teammate. The two get hyper determined to take down the monster. No matter what the two charge toward the monster, ready to tear it apart to save Yuri. Since their mana has been restored, they have what it takes to cut through the monster's defenses using their enhancement skill. They start decimating the monsters left and right. And Raúl urges Yuri to maintain the momentum so that they can save Aya. Raúl gets the chance to get to Aya, but the monster is a step ahead of them. The monster immediately moves Aya's position, making things even harder for them. Raúl easily figures out that with the way things are going, they won't be able to get to Aya. However, Yuri assures him that she is going to open a path for him. Yuri then taps into her primary skill to unleash so much aura, creating stairs for Raúl to climb on so he can reach Aya. Raúl is thankful for the assist, and he dashes toward Aya with the stairs. The monster tries to block his path with some of its tentacles, but Raúl easily cuts them down with sheer fury. With so much speed and determination, he reaches Aya and he cuts her down from the monster's grasp. Raúl manages to reach the ground and he checks on Aya to make sure that she is fine. Aya opens her eyes and smiles, saying Raúl is just as impressive as ever. Yuri then rushes over, telling Aya that she actually saved them with her skill. Yuri admits that Aya has some nerves about her, even though they have rescued Aya. The primary mission to take down the monster remains. Raúl and Yuri rush toward the monster, but things get even harder. Because it regenerates its tentacles, Yuri realizes that they have found themselves in a tough situation, and she asks Raúl what their next move should be. Raúl then tells Yuri to leave the rest to him, and even though she is skeptical, she agrees to let him do what he wants. Raúl dashes toward the monster, assuring Yuri that he is going to finish it off. Yuri is shocked when she realizes that Raúl is running toward the monster without a weapon in hand. Just as Raúl is about to reach the monster's main body, it regenerates one of its tentacles to block his path. Raúl then taps into the overclock power, hoping to double his firepower. Before using the Abyss Flame, his entire body is engulfed in a dark aura, as he unleashes a powerful flame at the monster. Ultimately, tearing its head open, the monster crashes to the ground, and this shocks Kronos, who wasn't expecting the Grim Reaper to be defeated nonetheless. He is determined to make sure that Raúl and his friends don't make it out alive. The team is celebrating their win when a dark fluid emerges from the monster's defeated body and heads straight at Aya. It almost impales her, but Raúl is able to get her out of the way just in time. Raúl realizes that the fluid is getting more powerful and he screams at the girls to make a run for it as they run toward the exit. Raúl is hoping that they don't die since they have managed to stop the dungeon from collapsing. Just as they are about to reach the exit, the fluid gets the edge over them. The trio is about to be swallowed up. When a golden shield covers them and a stern voice tells them to step aside, the team turns around to check out their savior, who is none other than the powerful Osvaldo. The girls are shocked when Osvaldo introduces himself, because Raúl had mentioned his name before they enter the dungeon. Raúl admits that he is the same guy whom he wanted help from. Basically, Osvaldo is stronger than them all because he is currently an S-rank mage. In addition to this, he was known as the Yellow King before Raúl's regression. Raúl knows that they would have been toast if Osvaldo had not arrived. Just in time to shield them with his barrier magic, Osvaldo winks at them, saying he is glad that he made it just in time to save them. Osvaldo mentioned that he was in another dungeon which was a request from the country. However, he was contacted by someone who is none other than Inés Reina Osvaldo. Then shocks Raúl by telling him that he knows him since he is Cayo's brother. Osvaldo assures Raúl that he has nothing to worry about because he was merely interested in him. Raúl is relieved to hear this, and he finally thanks Osvaldo for the assist. Osvaldo doesn't take it as something really serious, and he tells Raúl that he actually did something impressive to have defeated the boss of the dungeon. Just then, the Mona Stone from defeating the monster drops, and Osvaldo is shocked at how big the stone is. Osvaldo figures out that the dungeon boss is pretty strong, and he throws the Mona Stone to Raúl, who barely grabs it before it falls off. Osvaldo congratulates Raúl, saying he's looking forward to more from him. After saying this, Osvaldo steps out of the dungeon, and the team follows suit when they enter the association building. Yuri mentions that Osvaldo is an interesting fellow, and Raúl agrees with her. Inés Reina is shocked when she sees the team coming, and she starts screaming, asking if they are okay. Inés Reina has been worried about the team since they were taking too long in the dungeon. Inés Reina scolds Raúl for heading straight into the dungeon. After submitting his application form, even though the dungeon is more dangerous than the others, Inés Reina then asks them about the progress of the dungeon, expecting that they would still be at the entrance level. Inés Reina and her fellow attendants almost have a brain seizure when Raúl mentions that they have conquered the entire dungeon. They can't believe their eyes and ears, causing them to scream like maniacs. The information about the Ikabu, Kuro dungeon being conquered soon starts flying around. Guilds start running around to try to reach the person who conquered the dungeon when addressing the press. Aya says she finally has enough money to cover her sister's medical bills, and in addition she thanks Raúl for the great opportunity. Isabel Soto and her party members are totally salty when they see this, but Isabel Soto still wants to believe that Aya is cheating. The same thing applies to Cayo, who is utterly pissed about Raúl being the one who conquered the dungeon. The news about Raúl conquering the dungeon spread everywhere, especially since he was known as colorless before. Group chats went wild with friends calling each other out, suggesting that they all apologize for trash talking Raúl. While everyone is talking about how impressive Raúl is, he is thinking about how he is going to get stronger. Since he was able to conquer the dungeon thanks to the help he got from others, 3 days later, Raúl heads to the association, because Ines Reina summoned him, claiming that there is something he needs to hear. Raúl and the girls are shocked when Ines Reina tells them that they have received a request to conquer a certain dungeon. I can't believe this, because they just became a rank mages. And Ines Reina says this is possible thanks to the recent achievement. Basically, dungeon explorations are usually requested by mages themselves, but being offered a formal request is something the association only allows to a certain number of mages. Aya smiles, telling Raúl that everyone is counting on him. But Raúl disagrees, saying the entire party is needed. Raúl then asks Ines Reina who made the request, but she tells Raúl that she can't answer, because the higher UPS told her to keep it a secret. As expected, Yuri wants them to accept the mission just because it sounds fun. Raúl is obliged to accept since it was made via the association, so it shouldn't be anything suspicious. Just then, Ines Reina mentions that an S-rank mage will be accompanying them on the mission the following day. The party heads to the location where they are to meet the said S-rank mage, Aya. Is curious to see who the person will turn out to be. Momentarily, they run into the person, and to their greatest surprise, it is Osvaldo. As they step into the dungeon, Raúl mentions that he never thought Osvaldo would be the one to escort them. And Osvaldo smiles, saying he already knew, but he wanted to keep it a surprise. Osvaldo then mentions that he is looking forward to the mission because the whole world is also watching them. Aya is blown away by how carefree Osvaldo is, and Raúl agrees with her but reminds her that the dude is still an S-rank mage. Even at that, Raúl then asks Osvaldo if it is true that there is a tricky mechanism inside the dungeon, and Osvaldo says yes. Apparently, the scout team came back with a report that there was a wall of fire blocking the path. Raúl is curious about this, and he asks how they are supposed to deal with it. Osvaldo then reminds them that he has his barrier skill, and as long as he is with them, the firewall means nothing. Raúl notices that the dude is overconfident, and he wonders if he thinks the dungeon will be easy. As if Osvaldo can hear his thoughts, he tells Raúl that he will see how cool he is once he sees him in action, because he will be the one carrying the entire team. Suddenly, a wave of monsters appears on the scene, and Raúl tells his team to get ready to fight. He is also interested in seeing how strong an S-rank mage really is. Suddenly, he spots Osvaldo sitting in the corner, with fear written all over his face. Osvaldo tells the trio to handle the monsters because he is not quite familiar with the type of monsters that they are currently going up against. Aya reminds Osvaldo of what he said about being the main man, but Raúl just tells his team to face the monster and forget about the coward. The trio takes their stance and they start hurling out long-range attacks at the incoming monsters. Yuri confidently goes after the monsters, saying that they are nothing compared to the monsters that they fought in the past. Aya and Yuri take out the majority of the monsters, and Raúl finishes off the rest with his fire. Lance Osvaldo is blown away when he sees this. And after the monsters have been defeated, Aya excitedly celebrates with Raúl. Osvaldo finally stands up from where he was hiding, claiming that he hates bugs, and he is thankful that they saved his life. Suddenly, some wolves appear from behind and charge toward Osvaldo, but he gets serious and pins them down in a square box, ultimately killing them off pretty easily. Raúl and his team are shocked when they see this, and Raúl asks Osvaldo what sort of skill he just used. Osvaldo mentions that the skill is called the square box, and it is one of his barrier skills. However, the skill can be used against a large foe. Raúl is completely amazed because he has heard of it before, but this is the first time he will be witnessing it once the monsters are taken care of. Osvaldo suggests that they keep moving. As Raúl walks behind him, he is completely in awe of Osvaldo, because he is an embodiment of what an S-rank should look like momentarily. They arrive at the wall of fire, and it is just as the report said, the intensity of the fire can be felt some meters away without even going close. Just then, Osvaldo steps forward and he creates a path through the fire with his barrier magic. The team excitedly walks through the passage and they soon find another hall which leads to the boss's room. Since they are all ready, Raúl suggests that they move into the boss's chambers deep down. Osvaldo is waiting to see what Raúl is capable of, because he wants to know if he is a fraud or he is the real deal. As they step into the room, Raúl complains about how hot it is, which obviously signifies the power of the foe they are about to engage. The boss finally steps out, and it turns out to be a level 68 flamegarm. Just the appearance of the boss alone sends shivers down Raúl's spine. Raúl panics as the monster walks toward them, and he tells the team to put up a mana barrier. However, Osvaldo tells him that there is no need for this. The monster unleashes his flame breath on them, but Osvaldo easily blocks it using his barrier magic. This ultimately blows Raúl's mind, and Osvaldo tells Raúl that he will handle defense while they handle offense. Raúl acknowledges the order, but he takes a moment to think about what to do. He figures out that the barrier could fail at any time. If it gets hit severely, Raúl thinks of using his Abyss Flame, but he quickly ditches the idea because the monster is quite fast. And in addition, it is a boss level monster since the mana usage for the Abyss Flame is quite high. Raúl figures out that he is just going to have to take down the monster in another way. Raúl then leads the charge while telling Yuri and Aya to find a gap to attack. As he approaches the monster, Raúl activates his body enhancement, and leaps toward it. Raúl deceives the monster into thinking he is about to attack him head on, but Raúl maneuvers behind it. Before landing a critical hit, Yuri and Aya also support from behind. As they launch their long-range attacks at the boss monster, even with the combined attack, the monster remains mobile. And this just confirms Raúl's fear that the monster is quite strong. Raúl figures out that they are going to be at a disadvantage if the battle continues longer than expected. Raúl is already sweating from the intense heat, and he realizes that defeating the monster quickly is paramount. Meanwhile, Osvaldo is watching from behind, waiting to see what Raúl is going to do since he has found himself in such a dire situation. Just then, Raúl tells Yuri and Aya to start directing their attacks toward the monster's feet instead of its body. Yuri and Aya gladly accept his plan, and they immediately send their attacks to the monster's feet. Aya even takes it a step further by hitting the monster with a skill called Stone Bullet. This forces the monster to start jumping around, but Raúl figures out that no matter how agile it is, there is no way it will be able to dodge attacks in the air. Raúl leaps toward the monster, and just as he is about to get to the monster, he covers his blade in ice, leaving Osvaldo in awe. With the monster unable to move freely in the air, Raúl lands a critical hit that sends it crashing to the ground, totally defeating it. The girls rush over to him as usual to congratulate him, but he tells them that it is all thanks to them. Osvaldo is impressed with the teamwork that he just saw, and he concludes that Raúl is just as the report said. However, Osvaldo can see that Raúl is still hiding his true power. Just then, Raúl suggests that they head back to the association to make the reports. But Osvaldo tells him to wait. Osvaldo whips out the square box and tells Raúl that he would like to test him. Osvaldo tells Raúl that the box can be used to capture monsters, but at the same time, they can also be used as a method for training. Osvaldo then comes clean, telling Raúl that he wants to see his true power because of this. Osvaldo wants Raúl to defeat the monster sealed inside the box. He assures him that he is going to reseal the monsters if it starts getting dangerous, but it will be up to him to tell him to do it or not. Raúl finally realizes why Osvaldo followed them, and even though he doesn't know his true motives yet, Raúl cannot let go of an opportunity to gain more experience. Raúl then accepts Osvaldo's request, and Osvaldo unseals the square box just then. A terrifying black shadow appears from the box. Apparently, the monster residing in the box is one that changes its appearance. Depending on the fear of its opponent, Osvaldo is excited to see what sort of appearance he will see. And just as expected, Raúl's greatest fear, Kronos gently emerges from the box. Osvaldo is shocked to see this, since it is the first time he will be seeing such a monster. While Osvaldo is excited about the whole new experience, Raúl is freaking out. Well guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, comment next part in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and like the video. Thank you for watching, and see you next time again.